Our sweet little boys were born 4 minutes apart. They both came into the world in their own little unique ways with their own little personalities. This is the birth story of Matthew James and Michael Isaiah. Our story starts on July 22nd, 2019, when Arizona had its first real big monsoon storm. And I got the sweetest text from one of my good friends, and she said, "Oh my gosh, this is so neat. There's a monsoon and your rainbows are coming, your rainbows after the storm." And I thought, wow, I didn't even think of that. That's really special. These little babies are our rainbows after 2 miscarriages. So our birth story actually starts in the wee hours of the morning. I was given a phone number to call to schedule the induction. So I was supposed to call the number at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they were going to hopefully have room for me to come in. So I set my alarm, made the phone call, and unfortunately they did not have a bed for me to go into the hospital to start the induction process.
All right.
So I called at 3 a.m. this morning. They didn't have any beds available, so we went back to sleep and waited, and I think around like 7:20 we got a call from the hospital, and they said that we could come in to have some twins. So it's 7:53 and we are heading to the hospital now.
Yep, heading to the hospital. It's just
Gonna have
us,
some twinnies.
and we'll get the car packed with some gear.
It's like we're gonna move in.
Yeah, so praying for the best. It is 7:54, on the way to the hospital.
So when I got there, they checked me. I was about 1 to 2 centimeters, and they decided to use Cytotec. So after they inserted the Cytotec, I had to lay flat for an hour, which laying flat for an hour with twins, so not fun. They monitored my contractions while I was just laying flat, letting the Cytotec do its magical induction work. Just kind of hung out there, tried to get some rest, but hospital rest with, 2 monitors and hearing the nurses come in and out and hearing the baby's heartbeats, which is always good, but just things are loud. You don't get your best rest. You're kind of anticipating what's going to go on throughout the day. So yeah, we were just kind of hanging out, waiting for things to start to get real. At 11:30, my doctor came in. He checked to see where I was at. Things were progressing, still not very quickly. I hadn't really made any change, so they were going to allow me to kind of sit up. I was getting hungry because I had eaten breakfast, so around 11:30 I'd asked if I was able to eat something. I thought it was probably a good time to eat before I really did start to go into labor and I wasn't able to eat. My plan was to get the epidural, and I know they were going to do Pitocin, and at that point I knew I probably wouldn't be able to eat anything, so I wanted to get at least a little meal in before I wasn't able to. So I ordered some chicken noodle soup and fruit, and that made me feel a lot better. I had a lot more energy after that, and the twins felt well fed. So around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my OB came in and he had checked me, and I believe I was around 4 centimeters, so not quite where I was hoping to be, but whatever, I'll take it. So he decided to break baby A's water, and I was expecting contractions to like really pick up after that, but surprisingly I didn't really feel much different from before. I was having some contractions, but I was able to talk through them, was still able to eventually get up, walk around. I had to be monitored for about an hour just to make sure both babies were doing well, so that means sitting in the bed with both monitors and just kind of waiting things out there. After a while, I started to get a little uncomfortable. My back was hurting a lot. I called the nurse in and asked if I could just get up again because my back was really starting to hurt. She had mentioned that, sometimes getting in the bathtub is helpful to just kind of get you relaxed and help labor to progress and get things moving along. So it was okay with my doctor that I would just get in the tub and kind of relax. They had nice jetted tubs at our hospital, which was really great. So I decided to get in the nice warm bath and just kind of relaxed in there for a little while, let the jets hit my back, and that actually did feel really good. It was really relaxing. I think I only ended up staying in there for about 30 minutes or so, and I was just starting to get uncomfortable in there as well, starting to have some really intense back pain. So around 5:40 p.m. is when I did get out of the tub. I had gotten out of the tub. He helped me out, get situated in bed, and then he went to go grab a quick bite to eat in the cafeteria. I think no less than maybe 10 minutes later was when I texted him. I believe I said, "Hurry up, get back here, I'm in pain." Because contractions really did pick up, still completely in my back. At that point, I had the nurse come in, and I wanted her to check me just to kind of see where I was at. I believe I was 5 centimeters at the time. I told her that I had a lot of back pain. I asked if I could get the epidural. So she had told me that the anesthesiologist was in a C-section, so it would be about 40 minutes. When she told me that, my contractions were coming about a minute apart, and they were intense, completely in my back still. But when she told me 40 minutes, I really thought, man, I'm gonna have to sit here or lay here on my side and struggle through 40 contractions before I get my epidural. At that point, my best friend was on her way. She just felt like she wanted to be there. Once my friend Heather arrived at the hospital, I was having some intense contractions. I remember her coming in the door and immediately coming to my bedside and just giving me support, like a best friend does. I joke that she was like my doula, my photographer, and once the babies actually got here, she was my helpful NICU nurse. Finally, the anesthesiologist came. We're about 40 minutes later now. And he came, kind of read to me all of the side effects of the epidural. I said, okay, sign me up. And he left. I'm not really sure why, but he went out of the room. And at that point, I had a really intense contraction. And I remember feeling a lot more pressure. And my friend asked the nurse to come in and check me again. At that point, I was a 6 to 7 centimeters, and I remember her walking out the door saying she doesn't need Pitocin anymore, things are progressing, so my body was actually doing what it was supposed to do, which was great, things were moving along. A few contractions later, I was definitely feeling more of an urge to push. The nurse came back in, and they checked me again. And sure enough, I was 8 to 9 centimeters. At that point, I really don't remember a lot. Things definitely are getting blurry. The details are not so clear in my mind. What I do remember is a lot of people kind of rushing in. I remember my husband getting changed into his gown and my best friend getting changed into hers to be moved to the OR. I remember my doctor came in and basically was just like, okay, well, are you okay with this? We're gonna do this. And I with a smile on my face, said, okay, like, I guess so. What choice do I have? I'm going through each contraction, super painful, but also exciting, thinking, oh my gosh, like, I'm actually going to give birth to these babies. They're coming. At that point, the nurses come in. They take me to the OR because when you give birth to twins in a hospital, you have to deliver in the operating room just in case, something were to go wrong and you needed an emergency C-section. They're all ready for you there. At one point, as I was being wheeled into the operating room, I just remember asking my husband to just pray with me, and he stopped what he was doing, and we took a moment, and he leaned over, held my hand, and got in real close and just prayed for strength and endurance to get through the pain and to just have the strength to have these babies. And that was just like a really special moment that I remember, and that I'm thankful that I had a husband who was just so supportive during a painful and exciting moment in our life. They're wheeling me to the operating room, get in there. It is super bright, super cold, and I remember them telling me, okay, when you feel ready, like, you need to move over to this table. So I had to move off of my bed onto this little table, which actually felt like I was moving onto a balance beam, not a table. So I get on the operating table, get all situated, and as soon as I do, they're telling me to push. So I do. I followed directions and I pushed, and before I know it, I think 3 pushes later, and Mr. Matthew James was born. It was amazing. He came out just kind of looking around and just very quiet, but we knew he was okay because he had good coloring. He was just kind of checking out what was going on. And then a few minutes later, I was pushing again, and I think 4 minutes later, Mr. Michael Isaiah came into the world screaming bloody murder. He was quite angry, but so cute, so tiny. They immediately put both babies on my chest, which was really just such a neat experience to just get to hold one, holding Matthew while knowing that there was still another baby and I still had to push. I was really just so thankful for doctors and nurses who were so supportive. To be able to have an unmedicated vaginal birth with twins is pretty crazy, but also just so neat. I'm thankful that I got to experience that. While it was painful, it was still such a surreal experience. I know I'm speechless when I think about that. Just really the Lord had his hand on the whole birth process.
Okay, wow. That was amazing. It's okay. It's 7:30. Megan, I think it was like after, I think my last video, we were not thinking it would happen so quickly, and all of a sudden, Megan was in the OR pushing, and she naturally delivered both boys within 4 minutes of each other.
Didn't even have time for the epidural.
Didn't have time for the epidural. This is Mr. Matthew James Salonga, and this one is Michael Isaiah. Hey, big boy. He's looking for food. Looks like his brother Mason. He's looking for some food. Wow. That was crazy. And look, now we're just hanging out. We told family on via text and Facebook, and now we are just going to start adjusting to this. These two guys. Huh. This guy's just a happy little dude. Hasn't made one sound. And this guy's always crying, looking for food. It's because his brother was taking all the food. Look at you. You're healthy. You're healthy, boy. Good job, babe. You did amazing.